After 20 years, Roy Rogers' family confirms. Roy Rogers was a national treasure, having appeared in over 100 films, radio programs, and television series. The name and appearance of this Western symbol have been adapted to toys, literature, and even comics. Roy Rogers valued his family beyond everything else. He has 16 biological and adoptive children, as well as 27 grandkids. However, this happy trail star's life was not without incident. Not only were there family tragedies, but their family museum, which had over 200,000 visitors each year, had to close. Keep watching the video till the conclusion to find out why Roy Rogers' stardom faded. The Rocky Mountaineers. Leonard Sly, better known as Roy Rogers, was born on November 5, 1911 in Cincinnati, Ohio. He learned all he knows about horses from growing up on a farm outside Lucasville, and he learned to dance, sing, and play the mandolin since his family didn't have a radio. The family planned square dances and created their own entertainment. Leonard auditioned for the Midnight Frolics radio program in Los Angeles in 1931. Because they thought he was great, he was invited to join the Rocky Mountaineers, a Western group. Roger was shy, yet he overcame his nervousness and performed in front of other people. The Rocky Mountaineers tour took place in the midst of the summer and featured stops in New Mexico and Arizona. The shortage of food was the most difficult for them since they had to live on a very limited budget. The Sons of Pioneers. Roy Rogers began working with Bob Nolan and Tim Spencer when he was with the Rocky Mountaineers. They were both former Rocky Mountaineers. In 1933, they created a group called the Pioneers Trio. Spencer was the group's main vocalist, Nolan played bass, and Sly played guitar. Hugh Farr joined them in 1934, rounding out their trio. He was a fiddler. Because they were so young, the radio announcer changed the band's name before their radio performance. The Sons of the Pioneers was the moniker he gave them. They were well liked across the United States. Their most well-known tunes were Tumbling Tumbleweeds and Cool Water. The birth of Roy Rogers. Leonard Sly was offered the opportunity to start his career in Western film production. In 1935, he made his cinematic debut in a supporting role. Gene Autry played the lead role in that picture. When Autry demanded that the production pay him more, the studio began looking for a new cowboy who could sing. Sly was picked from among all the candidates that had auditioned. When the Republican Pictures Company changed his name to Roy Rogers, he was ready to take on his first big role. It appeared in the movie Under Western Stars. Dale Evans quickly comes to mind when I think about Roy Rogers. Death, however, happened before those two fell in love. Meet Trigger. When the studio was preparing Roy Rogers for his first leading role, they let him choose his horse to be his sidekick. Rogers chose a yellow-haired Palomino stallion from a group of 5 rental horses. Golden Cloud was the name of the horse, but because Rogers adored the horse, he purchased it in 1943. Rogers decided the name Golden Cloud didn't reflect the horse's agility and intellect, so he changed it to Trigger. Prior to his adoption, the horse had his own Hollywood career. He played Robin Hood in The Adventure of Robin Hood. He was Olivia de Havilland's character's horse. Trigger was a gifted horse. Trigger understood how to sit on a chair, write his name with a pencil X, lay down for a sleep, and cover himself with a blanket. In addition, he apparently mastered 150 commands and could walk for a staggering 50 feet on his hind legs. All of this contributed to his becoming a renowned horse, and he relished the attention. No matter how many tricks Trigger had at his disposal, he couldn't help but destroy some of them since he bowed every time he heard applause. The most astounding thing, in our opinion, is that Trigger was housebroken. Rogers' love life. Aside from his career, Rogers had a love life. In 1933, he married his first wife. She was his fan, and their marriage lasted barely a few years. Lucille Askeles was her name. However, it was during his radio tour that he met his second wife, Grace Arlene Wilkins. This again occurred in 1933, but this time in Roswell, New Mexico. Roy Rogers, an American actor and Western film icon, poses with a publicity photograph with his first wife, Arlene, and their 2-year-old daughter, Cheryl. They married shortly after Rogers' divorce was finalized in 1936. They adopted a daughter, but Wilkins had a daughter of her own in 1943. Cheryl Darlene and Linda Lou are their names. Wilkins also had a son, Ray Jr., also known as Dusty, before dying of delivery complications in 1946. Then came Dale Evans. Roy Rogers and Dale Evans met on the set of a film they were working on together in 1944. The two fell in love a few years after the death of his former wife, Wilkins. At the time, Evans was at Republic Studios prepping for parts as a cowgirl and Rogers' future co-star. Evans eloped at the age of 14 and gave birth to a son at the age of 15 before meeting Rogers. After her first marriage failed, she pursued a radio career and married 2 more times. She would not have met Rogers if her previous 3 marriages had not failed. The couple raised a large brood, but as you can see, tragedy struck them. Married with children. Rogers proposed to Evans during a rodeo at Chicago Stadium. They married soon after in 1947. They married at the same location where Home in Oklahoma was shot. Evans gave birth to a baby girl named Robin Elizabeth not long after. Unfortunately, the infant had Down syndrome and died as a result of mumps complications. All of this occurred before her 2nd birthday. Evans published a book called Angel Unaware to illustrate that they hadn't forgotten about her. This isn't the only thing they'll do in honor of their newborn daughter. Angel Unaware. Evans' novel, Angel Unaware, proved to be quite inspiring. Her exhibition of her daughter's life in 1953 sparked debate among Americans and the disabled. People were surprised at how involved Rogers and Evans were when it came to taking care of their daughter. In Oklahoma, a training institution for children with developmental problems bears her name, the Dale Rogers Training Institution. Evans and Rogers eventually adopted Mimi, Dodie, Sandy, and Debbie. This demonstrates how much love the two had inside them and were willing to share. Additional tragedies. Robin's death was not the first tragedy that befell this well-known couple. Debbie, their daughter, was born in Korea. She was just 12 years old when she died. She was one of 8 individuals killed in a terrible bus accident in which the school bus collided with 7 automobiles on the highway. Unfortunately, that's not all. Their son, John David, often known as Sandy, died when he was just 18 years old. Sandy enlisted in the Army and was sent to Germany. He died at the age of 18 in a military hospital in Germany in 1965. Career continued to flourish. Rogers was still focused on his job when he was raising his family and providing much-needed affection to its members. Aside from films, he made numerous public appearances. The money from these performances, however, ended up in the clutches of Republic Pictures. Only in 1940 did Rogers begin a provision granting him the right to utilize his face, voice, and name for commerce. Roy Rogers was such a great sensation that he was immortalized in action figures, cowboy adventure books, playsets, and even a Dell comic strip. Evans and Rogers had everything taken care of for their show, but you'd never guess what stood between Dusty and Rogers. The Roy Rogers Show. Rogers earned his own program, The Roy Rogers Show, on December 30th, 1951. Rogers portrayed the proprietor of a ranch in Mineral City, while Dale Evans operated the local cafe and hotel. Pat Brady was Roy's sidekick. When it came to animals, there was Trigger and Rogers' German Shepherd dog, Bullet the Wonder Dog. The concert was scorching. It aired on NBC and had a total of 100 episodes. It came to an end on June 9th, 1957. Just work. Rogers continued to work in Hollywood after his program ended. His wife and he attempted to make another program, the Roy Rogers and Dale Evans program, a smash. It was a variety comedy show that couldn't compete with the then-popular Jackie Gleason show. As a result, the program was canceled after just 3 months. Regardless, Rogers continued his career, appearing as a cowboy on Wonder Woman and The Muppet Show. His most recent film, Macintosh and TJ, was released in 1975 and was shot in Texas. Rogers and Evans as parents. Having renowned parents usually has advantages and disadvantages. However, Evans and Rogers went above and beyond to raise their children away from Hollywood. According to Dusty, their son, "We always moved away from the encroaching population because Dad liked his privacy. He wants his children to grow up on a ranch with horses, pigs, chickens, and cows." Of course, what parents desire and what children want are diametrically opposed. Dusty had been in 2 films by the time he graduated from high school. Dusty appeared to be an actress, which irritated Rogers. Dusty and Rogers. Rogers was opposed to his son being an actor. The job lasted approximately 2 weeks. My major responsibility was to test the seams and napalm bombs. Finally, I gave up. That infuriated Dad. I became enraged and left town with friends, Dusty told People magazine. Dusty left his family to pursue his job in Ohio, but it was there that he understood how important his father is to the outside world. Dusty later returned to the Apple Valley and reconciled with Rogers, stating, "What really worries me, Dad, is that I'm afraid you're going to die and I won't be able to tell you how much I love you." It won't be long until Dusty is forced to make difficult choices. Adoption. Roy and Evans had a large family, as previously stated. Many people are unaware that the pair was a strong advocate for adoption. They added 4 children to their family via adoption. As a result, their family had 9 children in all. Evans and Rogers, who established a few children's organizations, the Happy Trails Children's Foundation is one of the most significant organizations, with the goal of eliminating child maltreatment, which Evans and Rogers described as an epidemic. No one can match his career. Roy Rogers was a well-known actor. For almost 5 decades, he was one of the most well-known stars. He appeared in at least 2 films every year. That number could reach 8 films per year at times. All of this occurred between 1935 and 1951. When he married Evans, he reduced the number of roles he accepted, but he continued to appear on television until 1984. You'll have a difficult time finding a better employed actor with one with such a huge filming rate as he had. 2 deaths. Strange as it may seem, Dale Evans and Roy Rogers died at the same time. They were distinguished by a few years. When Rogers died in 1998 from congestive heart failure, his son, Dusty Rogers, shared his father's final words, recounting how Rogers stood up in bed and said, "Well, Lord, it's been a long, hard ride." Evans died in the same manner in 2001. Both are buried in Apple Valley's Sunset Hills Memorial Park. They are reported to be similar to Johnny and June in this regard. Evans is claimed to have been distraught and grieved for 3 years after Rogers' death.